Hi guys, this is ChewOnThis, your go-to podcast for thought-provoking discussions. Hi guys, thanks for joining us for the latest episode of ChewOnThis. As always, you've got myself, Will, aka Mr. Kiggs, joined by Martha, and Monique. Right, who's goes it this week?
Isn't it a boys' go?
No, it's my go.
Oh, it's Martha. Okay.
That's why I put information in the group.
What?
Because I handle my thing properly.
Martha always comes on on level 100.
Always on some kind of crud. We all had long days, yeah. Right now, I just want to hug Martha. Can I hug?
The smoke has started from early.
Can I have a hug?
Martha, what's your topic?
Violence in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Violence in relationships. As in domestic violence, basically.
Violence, domestic violence, just relationships and violence and the crazy things it makes you do.
Are you saying physical violence or mental violence?
Both.
Okay.
Both. So there's been
I think mental violence is different than it's not
violence, isn't it? It's violence.
Wait, what's mental violence? Describe that.
When you abuse someone mentally, like telling they're fat or whatever, or put your partner down.
Okay, is that classed as violence or just abuse? That's just like abuse, no? Is that not just abuse?
It's still violence, though, isn't it? No?
It's not
Is that called violence? Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Okay. So violence in relationships.
Why do you say this, though, Martha? What's your reason behind this? What's your rationale?
So we're looking at two things that have happened this week. First, we had the young lady who decided to get herself charged with GBH with intent, which has almost a life sentence attached to it because of whatever. It's a bit unclear because in the video she was like, "Don't try to sleep with my man and don't sleep with nobody else's man." But apparently it wasn't about sleeping with a man. But we're going with that. There was all that craziness, and then there was the husband that killed his wife and his daughter, the head teacher of a private school. And so, again, we don't know why, but we have these two sides. We have an example of a woman who's going crazy because of a relationship with a man, and we have an example of a man who has done the same thing. And that's going to talk about, this in relationship, like what gets us to this point where you want to hurt somebody else and kill them based on the relationship that you have.
See, I thought the teacher one was someone who was murdered at school. I didn't know he wrote for his whole family like that, or wrote for his whole family. Shall I say?
Was that the gentleman who? Wait, what country was that in?
That was here. That was in some school in South.
Yeah, Sutton.
Epsom, Epsom. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm just seeing that. now.
But no, I don't think violence is warranted, isn't it? Especially when you're going to kill your family. It's a bit mad.
But I guess the question rises: Is this an increase in violence, or is this just the violence that's always been there?
I blame Twitter.
I think violence in relationship. You know what's mad, yeah? I mean, they're two different situations, yeah. The first one, which is the girl, I feel like that's not even a violence in relationship. That's just unruly, devilish behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like when that whole setting there, that the fact that there's a video, because it's not like the girl is wearing like a GoPro, right? It's the fact that somebody's in that room recording this whole madness going on.
No, bro, she had the phone in her hand, fam. She's got the phone. She
recorded herself.
And she recorded the madness in her phone.
And then she put the phone down.
Oh, she put it down.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I didn't even see that. That's even next level. That's next level psychotic behavior. Next level.
So for those who may not have seen the video, what takes place in the video?
For those of us who were supposed to watch the video.
No, I perfectly not watched it. But I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person who's chosen not to take this level of negativity into their life right now.
This is where I was coming from.
Lies, William.
Okay, so what happens in the video is this. There's this woman, you look like she's in her bed, relaxing, chilling out. And another woman comes into her house. Seems like she's been uninvited into her house. She then comes into her room, and then violence is unfolding where it appears to be woman's getting kind of dealt with in her bedroom, punched up, whatever, stabbed up, whatever's happening in the room. And a woman in her bed saying, please leave me alone. Like, please, please, please stop, stop, stop. The woman with the phone who's recording the madness is still going at her, like bullying her in her room. And obviously she's obviously bleeding some on her arm. I don't know if she's bleeding, but that wasn't very clear. And then the woman's then transpired to then flip the camera around and then show herself in the midst of the complete madness with the girl behind her saying, yeah, I've done this, whatever, like she's a dickhead, da 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 da. I'll kill you next time, bum 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 bum. Don't see you anyone's man, da da da, all that. And the girl says she didn't do. I don't know, should the girl was trying to deny it or whatever. I don't know, but that's just regardless of the facts. And then yeah, the video ends, and that's basically
You know what's you know what's mad about it?
She pours the hot water.
Oh yeah, no, but I didn't see that part.
You didn't see it?
No.
When she does what? What does she do?
So later on, the girl's in the corner, like, you know, obviously they're going around the bed and she's there. Later on, this is when she puts the phone down and the girl's over in the corner and she's talking to her and saying, you know, whatever else, like getting more. And you know, when you're talking to someone, you get more agitated and more violent. So she does that. She gets the kettle, she pours the hot water on top of the blanket. She starts punching the blanket. She's like, get out, come out from underneath it. I've still got a knife. And she starts using the knife on the blanket. She's like, I'm gonna stab you if you don't.
I'll be honest,
out.
yeah. You know, even just listening,
but I didn't know I didn't know she poured hot water on it. You know, I didn't see that part. It wasn't very clear to me when I saw it. Though. I was just kind of like glazing through it.
Even just listening to this stuff, yeah. I'll be honest. It's like I think it's just triggering. If I'm honest, like the whole thing, like because when you have a child, yeah, I can't even imagine what that child. I don't know the backstory, right? So I'm not going to pretend that other girl's innocent. I don't know nothing about that, right? I'm just seeing it from a parental point of view. I'm thinking like, on one hand, yeah, if that was my youth, like my child doing that to somebody else, like I'd feel like so disgusted. You know, and disgusted to the like. There's no amount of words you could say to me as your parent, yeah, that it would allow me to forgive the fact you disgrace my family and name like that. Not a there's nothing you could say. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but then if I was the other child's parent, yeah, there's nothing you can say that's not going to stop me from stamping you out differently. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see your family. I don't want to see anybody. Do you understand? There's no way that it's not like
let's be clear though. We're speaking from an era of an older generation, yeah, heads on, yeah. A lot of these people who are doing this madness, I'm not sure how old this woman is, by the way, yeah, but
she's 18.
She's 18.
Girl.
Okay. So if we flip the script now, her parents are probably, let's say her mum had her when she was 18 years old, yeah. Let's just say that, right? So her mum's 36, yeah. She's most probably grown in an environment, yeah, where her mum hasn't had much of a influence in terms of influence on her, because her mum was probably the same way as well. You see what I'm saying? So I believe that what I'm trying to say is you're a product of your environment, innit? So if that's the kind of environment growing up in, which a lot of these young people are, they're growing up in environments where their parents are a bit mad as it is, or a bit on the road, doing the madness. So then what can happen is these kids that's come up as well, these young bucks, the 18s, the younger 18s younger, or even 21 years younger, they're gonna come up doing a complete madness because their parents are of that way, and so it just creates a cycle. Whereas if we take ourselves in our environments and of our children, as we have kids in this pod, myself, I had my first child when I was 30, so I've kind of grown and seen I'm a lot more mature as to how I deal with certain things or how I look in life, how I'm applying that in my children. If my child is, if I'm from 25 and my child sees me do a complete madness at the age of, do you know what I mean, say 10, 13 years old, right? They're going to grow up to see that and think that's normal. Whereas my daughter's never seen me have a complete madness at all. She just sees her dad just being a dad, being like a law-abiding citizen. So it kind of creates an environment for these kids to see if their parents are doing it, yeah, why can't I? Because there hasn't been any boundaries being set, which is why I think there's a lot of, not saying all parents do this, not saying this is across the board, but I do strongly feel that there's an element, a lot of these children that are doing these complete madness because there's an environment of where they're allowed to get away with this foolishness because that's what they've seen on a day-to-day basis.
I agree with
Well,
that to a certain extent.
Mm.
And this is an assumption here, just based on, she's from Hertfordshire, and she's Ghanaian. And I'm going to put it out there that it seems like, and I wouldn't be surprised, that she comes from a good family. I would put money on it that she comes from a good family. I bet you she went to like a grammar school or something like that, or whatever. Or maybe they may have moved out of ends, you know, like at some sort of thing. But typically, you understand that kind of, when you see black families in Hertfordshire, they typically are doing all right. It's not normally that typical young family. They might be, but that typical kind of, you know, young family that's gone on that kind of narrative that you spoke about, Aaron. So I do think that's true. I definitely think that the youth of today have been raised by youths, and that's what we're seeing. So I do think there's that dynamics of, even if you do come from a good family, the youth of today, and you know, social media and all this other stuff that's wrapped up in it, means that you can still get caught up in the craziness, right? So that's what we're seeing in that behavior on that one hand. But the level that I really want to talk about is not just of the behavior, because that behavior and craziness and things is a youth level, right? We've seen these, you know, whether it's the other day, all the kids, they jumped JD and stole all the stuff. They went in McDonald's, stole the stuff. They're fighting security guards. Like, other than just that youth level, the level of, you're in a relationship, your partner cheats on you, and you want to beat up the other person. Like, what is that about? Like,
yeah, but that's so I think that's more to
the man is honest is as well. Yeah, is I heard today that it wasn't even her boyfriend; it was her friend's boyfriend that she was.
Yeah, but that's what I think. The story for me, I'll be honest. Like, there's some things I look at and think, like, I have to take all these different factors into it, and there's some things I look at, and think, like, just on a bog standard level, you right and wrong. Like, I'm saying, on a bog standard level, black and white, right and wrong, you know this. Do you know what I'm saying? And I can't look at that clip or that video and then look at all the things that happen, like from one, you're in someone's yard, like running up in their yard with whatever, then you got a shank, then you're throwing hot water on them. You know, kind of that's next level demented. Do you understand? But my thing is not the fact that you did all that stuff. Well, I mean, that's bad enough, right? It's the recording part. So what I'm trying to figure out, so prime example, when you think about like domestic violence, right? In domestic violence, that tends to be like live and direct, right? It's not man like,
it's not premeditated.
Cool,
it's not premeditated.
Yeah, hang on a second. Let me just put the camera up, right? Can you stand over there so I can punch you in your lip? That's not what that is. Do you know what I'm saying? That is live and direct, emotional, whatever. Something like this is almost like a staging of, okay, I want to, you like, do you know what I'm saying? It seems almost like premeditated madness, but almost with like an expectation of some kind of glorification at the end of it. Do you understand? And so that's why I can't excuse it and be like, it's because of this and that, because it's too planned. It's not like, there's no amount of like, I don't know, bad parenting or whatever. You could be like, oh yeah, that's why you got the camera. You could have done that behavior without all the camera. Do you understand? And just be like, listen, I felt disrespected, so I punched you up. I felt disrespected, so I did this. But I felt disrespected, so I went and got a camera, recorded myself doing all that madness.
No, it wasn't about, you know what it is? I don't think it was about what? I don't think it was about her, the girl who was recording it. I don't think it was about her per se. I think it was, obviously, we're never gonna know the rationale as to why she done it here. But it was more of a case of embarrassing the girl in the bedroom. Yeah. It was more of that fact, isn't it? Yeah. It was more about, this girl is a hoe I'm going to record her. This is what she's been doing. And with that recording element of it, right, she got excited, right? And then she started to go through that to this level, and then she went to level 10.
But that's why I said it was like glorification.
And so, one sec. And then so from that point on, yeah, because she's gone to embarrass the girl, she then went to level 20 and started to say, look, I just done this madness. Like, look at me. And she could have just left as an embarrassment. She could have just left as an embarrassment thing for the girl, right? And put on a TikTok or a Snapchat, whatever, for that purposes, yeah. She could have done that and left it alone. But she went one step further.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like if you go through the madness of the steps, yeah. The reason why I say premeditated, right, is because if we accept, yeah, that whoever this chick slept with, yeah, that's not this chick's man, yeah. That's next level. Like, why are you even involved? Why are you gonna do jail time, yeah, for a man who's cheated on whoever it is, yeah, that's not your man? Why are you going to do jail time for that? Right?
See, the thing is I think and this is what I mean about, so this is the youth element to this side of this, particularly on this whole Snapchat thing. And as much as, as much as the youth of today are kind of like older, as in where they are than we were, they're still babies. They think because Snapchat, they do literally everything on Snapchat because of this whole thing of, Snapchat not saving things. But it's like you don't realize, it's still 24 hours. There's still an opportunity for me to download it. There's still an opportunity for it to be shared. Like, you're not safe. So they kind of think this whole, as though I'm safe and it's in this space and I'm going to do all that as though it's not going to go further. And people, they're in their own little world, and they genuinely believe like they invented. It's like, oh, we were the first person that came up with this idea of running up on somebody, or we invented this whole process. I'm the start of this whole thing.
Yeah,
I just think that she totally missed it. But Aaron's correct. It was definitely about humiliating the girl. So I suppose there's something in that, right? I suppose there's something in this whole. It lets you know how much social media and that whole kind of peer pressure influence around the whole thing is important, right? Because it wasn't just I'm going to teach you a lesson, right? So if it was right or wrong, right? If it was about the fact of saying you've missed girl code, right? You're not, you shouldn't be sleeping with somebody else's partner, and I'm going to teach you a lesson. That's between them, right? It's not about that. It's bigger than that. It's about the fact of actually socially within your circles and where that goes. That's how we teach you a lesson. We teach you a lesson by shaming you within our peer group and beyond, because it's going to spread. It's going to go somewhere.
But I don't think it's just a youth thing, though. I think it's just been, this has happened since the era of mobile phones with fucking cameras on them. And back in the day, something used to happen. It was recorded on the phone and it was shared amongst BBM or whatever the platform was. It was shared, not in a very clear video, but it was shared, didn't it? Right?
Now you're HD undirect.
It's 4K now, so it looks like it's even the same thing. I remember thinking back in the day. I'm seeing Hollywood madnesses, not as much as you see now because social media is obviously a bigger platform to use. But I remember seeing still a few kerfuffles here and there via the BBMs or whatnot before. But now, because you have the element of these platforms that they can get even worse. I'll give you a prime example. This is what my cousin, she's 12 or 13, lives in MK, and she got suspended from school because she runs a group on her Snapchat called The Bullies in her school. And the teacher got them to go into their phones to see what's going on in this group. 24 hours, innit? So they're going to their phone to see that there's a complete madness going on in my cousin's phone, with all of her friends and that, lining up to bully certain girls in the school. Like, so
it's mad. You know what? Yeah, I don't know, man. It's mad. Like,
but what do you think this is? Do you think this is just the normal tribalism that we prior? The difference is that people we knew were doing that when we were I think we would have to have been younger than 18 to pull off stupidness like that. But when all that sort of stuff was taking place, we simply just didn't record it. It was always gossip and rumor. There was no proof. There was no evidence.
It's because we've got phones now.
Exactly. Absolutely. And also, I'm not sure about the rest of you, but but I also had a healthy fear of my parents.
That's what's baffling me.
If
That's what baffles me.
there's a chance my parents are going to see. It was enough for people to whisper or for people to lie on you in general. That's why
I think that's the part that Aaron said about. I think I do agree with that part about babies raising babies, and I think
absolutely
whatever that fear was, I had a. It wasn't necessarily a fear, but it was a honor. Like I can't. Like if I don't worry me, I'll be scrapping on the streets. That's not a problem. We will scrap. That the scrapping isn't the problem because I'm not going to get beats for scrapping, but I can't have been the person that went out there and caused the trouble. I had to be defending myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the narrative has to be correct, right?
I can't be bringing drama and disrespect and dishonor. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it was that. So I could scrap. There's no problem with that. Yeah, but there was a element of I didn't want to let my dad down. You don't want them to be disappointed in you. Do you know what I'm saying? And you can't kind of come with dishonoring your family
name, bro.
But then maybe that's the problem. It's a lack of respect. Because it's not just teen parents. I think you also have people who are being raised by parents who thought they wanted to be parents and have an opportunity not to be because of the age that we live in. A lot of parents are disconnected. A lot of people thought it was a good idea to reproduce, and the actual raising of these children has proven more difficult. I don't think it's just a teen parent thing. It can contribute to some single households and also some dual parent households. The stories are coming out all the time. But why is that the case? Because we live in the technology age. We live in an age where distraction is everywhere and can be everywhere. For once, you don't have to just sit down in your family home and deal with what's taking place. You can escape on Instagram.
There was a story of a day, of some kid got murdered, and the mum and the son conspired to do it. They worked together to get the youth murdered. Like this is the kind of this is what we're dealing with right now. That's like my daughter and her mum lining up one of her boys at school to put him to sleep, innit? Like, I can't even compute that.
There are stories of a mum who killed 2 of her children. She had about
Say again?
She had about 6 kids. She killed 2 of her kids and put them in the freezer. And all the other kids.
Yeah, but that was different. Have you seen that one?
Take place.
Babe, that one, yeah. But hold on, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I don't know how she did
violence.
It. No, it is violence, but those other children were abusing her children.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, shit.
Reported rumor. That was the reported reason as to why she said that
the plot thickens, boy.
No, she said
so wait. So some kids were bullying her kids, so then she murdered those kids.
Her own children.
Oh, so instead of slapping them or saying to go to the noise there,
no, babe,
she put them in the freezer.
She tortured them. No, she listen.
How many kids does she have?
If you hear her trial, she tortured them and then put them in the freezer. And she tells you point blank, yes, I did it because this is what they did to my baby, and I'm just like, as a parent, where is there's the as you said, Will, innit? I'm stamping that child out. Remember you said I'm stamping that child out who's just abused my child. But what if it's your child?
Yeah, but okay, in proportionality, right? It's like for example, like if your child is stepping out line, yeah, it's your responsibility to put them back in line. You don't expect somebody else to come and put your child back in line. Do you understand? So if one of my children is bullying the other child, yeah, I'm gonna put you back in line. Do you know what I'm saying?
Not bully, babe. Abuse.
Suspected molestation.
Sexual molestation. Let's say your son rapes your daughter. Your son rapes your daughter.
This whole freezer doesn't sound so bad anymore.
You know what?
It just sounds, this whole thing, you know what's funny? Yeah? That story sounds correct.
Okay, but what if it was your daughter who raped your son? Because one of them was a girl.
That's a mum problem. I'm saying mum saw her out. I don't care.
A boy and a girl. A boy and a girl that were murdered.
Yeah, but I'm saying
a boy and a girl were murdered. Who's been
the boy out, and then she could sort the son out.
They abused their sibling.
And the sibling was a boy or girl?
Boy.
I think it was a little boy. Yeah.
Boy.
And they raped a boy.
Supposedly.
They sexually abused
him. Whatever it was, like we need to get into deals with that, innit? But
This is one thing I'll say, yeah. This is one thing I'll say,
back the body in.
This is where, yeah. This is where you have to control. You have to control. I think this is where the world's gone mad, yeah. And this is why I kind of get like, you almost sound like you're out of touch with some of these stuff, yeah, because we're in a world, yeah, where people literally want you to believe it should be a fucking free for all for everything. Do you understand? Right? To the point where common sense doesn't even exist. Now, if you got like back in the day, I remember back in like in school days, right? When like the whole kind of I think that's when like Labour first came in, yeah. And then they brought around this. Before that point, there was a lot of kind of very much, let's say, hardcore traditional values, right? Traditional in the sense that I remember like Sundays were like, I don't know, I want to say church days, yeah, but Sundays were family days, yeah? So that's what, on the Sunday, shops were open, be in your yard with your family, right? Teachers, like people of seniority, whatever, they had respect. You had to respect them, yeah? There was a point where I don't know what it was that happened during that period of time, but it went all out the window, and it turned it into more of a flip. Like, and it's almost like, and I'm not against empowering children, right? I'm not against stamping out abuse and stuff like that, right? But this was one of those things where, for me, it feels like, you know, when you do something and it has unintended consequences, I feel like that's exactly what happened, right? It's like you try to solve one problem, and the way you tried to solve it was by almost, you almost did a very like if you look at it from let's say culturally, for example, yeah, culturally, Black community wise, yeah, there's a hierarchy, right? There's a hierarchy and it exists, and you know your place in that hierarchy, right? So when you're in your family house, yeah, it's not a democracy. That's not how it works there. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what who like, you know what side your bread's buttered. Do you know what I'm saying? So you stay in line and you handle business and whatever, right? Your parents are that's the final authority. There is no, I'm calling social services, I'm going to call it, there ain't none of that. Do you know what I'm saying? But since that point, all this madness is literally spread like wildfire, to the point, most of the kids are unruly, right? And you can't even rein them in because the genie's now out the bottle, and any form of kind of almost discipline or anything like that would, let's say, was traditionally there. The boundaries which were traditionally there, they're all gone, right? Because these kids now are just doing their own thing, and they're supported by the system, the same system which is literally broke and under-resourced to manage them. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
But it's important for, you know what, yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think it's important for children to know what their rights are in terms of, in that level, yeah. I don't like the way that the government's trying to parent your kids in it. I don't agree with it, but I do get that your children should know their rights and that. Like the other day, my daughter said to me, my rights is I'm allowed to have rah, rah, rah. I'm like, I talk about, you know, your rights, yeah. But obviously, like, she knows what she should have, what she's entitled to, innit, yeah. Which is good, because then you know where you stand in terms of being a human, innit, and what's tolerable and what's not tolerable, yeah. I get it, but yeah, to your point, I agree that there's a point at where, where do you draw the line though? Do you know what I'm saying? You have to give, everything goes too far in it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like in life, you give someone an inch, yeah, a bit of leeway, and then it's always going to be a mile taken from that inch you're given, in it. So you can't have a society where everything's just storming it, because like there has to be some flex in it, and the flex comes with a girl.
This is a point, yeah, where, and again, I'm not against moving with the times, right? You know that whole Spider-Man thing, right? Great power comes great responsibility, right? We just give them power. There's no responsibility at the end of it. Do you understand? And now, like, now you're complaining like, oh my God, the kids have gone wild. Listen, the kids have gone wild because you let them off the leash without knowing what they're going to do with that power, right? Yep. So yes, I'm not against letting your child know, but again, going back to the household, right? In my household, I am responsible for my child. When my child does something wrong, I'm not just responsible for my child in the sense of I have to feed him, I have to clothe him, I have to put a roof over his head. what I'm saying? All the nice mushy stuff, right? The buck stops with me when my child leaves my house. Do you understand? When my child leaves my house, the buck stops with me, because the first person you're going to blame when my child's gone wild and doing all sorts of madness is me. So then you can't take away my responsibility and my power, right, to make sure that my child doesn't go out there and do a madness, while at the same time telling me like, oh yeah, like he can go, he should be able to feel what he wants or think what he wants or whatever it is, right? You're creating a problem that you can't even solve. All you're doing is lighting a fire and walking away, basically, and saying, oh, like, it wasn't my fault.
That's down to how, again, I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong giving that education to kids, innit? Because then it essentially stops a lot of abuse from happening, innit? Like with children.
But has it though?
But
No,
I'm
but
just
it's not the education. It's not the education. The education is key. For example, so the other day I saw something and I thought it's so true. Think about it. You know, we always say don't talk to strangers. Like we little kids, don't talk to strangers. Actually, that's poor advice, because everybody's a stranger before you first meet them, right? It's like, actually, not don't talk to strangers, don't look out for strange behaviors, right? So, and that could be from anybody, including people who are in your family. So rather than saying don't talk to strangers, say look out for strange behaviors. And it's about that. It's about understanding it. So it's not about saying that you can't have a voice. You can have a voice. You can let me know what it is, but there's a time and a place. You're a child, you don't have responsibility. And at the end of the day, I've said no, it's full stop, regardless of something. Or if you want to tell me something, here's a time and a place for you to be able to do those things, right? Yes, you can know your rights, but it's not a case of, oh, you're now upset that you don't do that, you don't like something. It's not done in exactly the same way as your friends that do it. And now you're going to be talking to me about child,
Right.
What's it called?
A child abuse.
Or whatever it is, like, no.
It's, bro, you know what? The whole thing, it just baffles me. I try to even just stay away from it, because I just think like I said, you lot are creating problems you can't even manage. There's no, if we look at where we are today, yeah, technically, when you actually deep it, yeah, all this faffing around we're doing to accommodate whatever generation, I don't know what letter they are this time, X, Y, Z, whatever you want to call it, right? All that faffing around we're doing, yeah, these mofos haven't invented one useful thing to date, right? All the people who've invented every single thing you're using to date, yeah, came from a generation where there's rules and boundaries. Do you understand? Every single thing.
Give him a chance.
No, listen. Give him a chance, bruv. Every single thing we use today, every single thing that's of use, every single thing you enjoy was created and invented by people who came from a generation of rules and responsibilities. That's the fact of it. Do you know what I'm saying? What you've got now, yeah, is a situation where people who didn't put in that work, who ain't ready to do all that, yeah, they're gonna be going out there freestyling, yeah, and then what? I literally don't know. I don't know.
I disagree though. I think you got to give them the dues on, man, because in the day they're all already minutes. So give the young people some time to catch up to get to the level of innovating and making things happen, isn't it? Do you get me?
Okay, so other half of it now, right? So the other half of violence in relationships, around relationships, or causes you to do things. Husband, don't know the backstory. There's very little on it. Like, there's not even, like, you know, they've not gone no further than there's been a tragic part where a husband killed his wife and his 7-year-old daughter and then killed himself.
How did he kill them?
Discuss.
How did he kill them?
I don't know. It doesn't even say.
Did not say the shotgun somewhere?
Was there? I don't know. I have the thing that I read. That's all I got. It doesn't. I thought.
You know what you know what I'll say to that, yeah. And I'm not gonna make. It's not an excuse on any level, yeah. But you see the problem with like men, yeah. They're so layered in terms of their emotions that incident, that story, that tragedy that happened, yeah, I'd be very surprised if anybody saw it coming, if that makes sense. Like, do you understand? Because it's like whatever happened, he snapped, right? But whatever caused the snap wasn't a one-time thing. It wasn't like whatever happened today, I'd have had it wasn't that. It was literally a build up.
Assumption, though. You can't make that assumption.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm going more probability wise.
Probability wise, because we don't know.
Probability wise, yeah. most of the time, those kind of stuff happen. Rarely is it just a in the moment thing. It's usually a build up of whatever, and especially from an emotional perspective, like. So you got, there's that narrative, for example, when we're talking about female rights, for example, right? And then some men express their opposition to female rights by talking about how they feel about in their situation, like how they feel like, and as if to say that if a woman gets this right, then I can't do X, Y, Z, and I can't do that kind of thing. Do you understand? Right? And that form of communication, that form of processing, that form of understanding, right, is almost like it's like a failure of raising a boy or a man or whatever you want to call it, right? It's like a failure of society to raise men who can simultaneously be men while also expressing their emotions, right? And also managing their emotions, because they tend to pen up all of that feeling. There's no real outputs, and then it always comes out in different ways. And it sounds like in this situation, for whatever reason, this guy snapped in his relationship. He snapped, and his target was the people who are supposed to be the closest to him.
Well, this is what I'm trying to say though. There's a lot of now more pushers, and I think there's a couple of celebrity people or people obviously in the limelight, but famous people who are now trying to create initiatives to stop them from moving mad and doing stuff like this, because you're right, men don't talk about their issues, innit? About issues they're having at home, the family, work, finance. They try to keep all penned up into themselves, innit? They don't write it down. And so then when it comes down to it now, like the only way out of it, the only way to discuss it is by jumping on a normal line. And that doesn't resolve it, innit? That just creates a whole lot of delays. Whereas generally, if you had a conversation, you might, with someone, we might avoid that. And I think the men need to speak more about their
Yeah, but that's the thing though. It's not it's because the issue starts at such a young age. By the time you turn into a man, you've literally got a mountain of stuff that you never got off your chest. So then even
100%.
starting the conversation puts you off, because it's such a big, it's like, where do I start? Do you know what I'm saying? And also it's become part of you to not talk. Do you know what I'm saying?
What's the reason that so, okay, fine, I get that, right? They don't talk, it's come out of something. Why didn't you just kill yourself? Why did you have to take others with you?
I think there's also an element. You said he was a doctor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the added pressure of
he's not a doctor. He's
was he not a professor?
No, he's not a doctor. No, he wasn't. He's
I thought he was a professor or teacher, something.
No.
The wife of the teacher.
An accounting or finance or some sort of company. He's a director of something anyway.
Okay,
no,
so
he's the head. He's the head at Epsom College.
No, she's the head at Epsom College.
Oh, she's the head.
Yeah.
I think he just got mad in his household. I think he found out something they didn't want to find out.
I think it could be anything that's serious. It could be financial issues. It could be anything.
Yeah, but yeah, I just want to understand the kill others part.
I think it becomes an element of a bit selfish, isn't it? So, like, I'm not saying it's how I think, but I know how men can be very selfish with things, isn't it? And if I can't have it, no one else can have it. And the reason why I say this is because a prime example of this is when men have, say, like a relationship with someone, with a woman, and the relationship goes south, and they have children, and then all of a sudden that man becomes a dick, and they don't want a woman to move on. They want to keep her trapped. They want to keep bothering her, all the rest of it. Yeah, and that's the behavior, isn't it? Men can become very like obsessive or possessive. Yeah.
That'd be fair. That goes both ways, man. When it comes,
it goes both ways. But right now, I'm just speaking from a male's perspective because I'm a man and I can't speak for women. But like, what happens if that is the men's behavior becomes erratic, innit? And men can act erratic in certain situations, yeah. And then with all that being said, like, it transpires into creating complete fuckery because we don't know how to control it. And then once the man gets his head into a certain place, it becomes an abusive situation, i.e. fights, killing your whole family. Because men don't do things by hearts. We go fucking full way, innit? We'll do something, we'll do it live. We'll get the fireworks out, we'll go blow the fucking place up. Guy Fawkes, for example. Like, so we don't move. Men don't do things by heart. We always do things for throttle.
What was you gonna say,
I think it's despair. It might be. I don't know. It's a very hard one to answer, to be honest with you, because if you take my first point around being able, like, expression, like being able to express your feelings and stuff like that, and then you layer that with like literally mental health issues, right? Like, my thing is, like, I actually 100% believe people generally think, like, the percentage of, like, it's almost like there's 2% of people with mental health issues, and then 98% of people who are fine. Well, I think it's 100. I think it's the other way around. Which I'm saying, I think most people suffer degrees of mental health, and I think men, I wouldn't be surprised if they suffer it more due to whatever various factors, and I think that has a then detrimental impact on their family life and how they deal with pressure and things like that. Do you know what I'm saying? It's almost like it's when you think of pressure and you think of like the kind of the expectation is like, as a man, you're supposed to be able to deal with pressure. Do you know what I'm saying? But what's interesting about that assumption is when you look at it from like an engineering perspective, for example, right? You can calculate pressure, like how much pressure something can take, and then you can rationalize why it can take that pressure. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas with men, it's just assumed that you can take pressure, and so then you're living that experience like silently, if that makes sense. But each man will be able to take only different types of pressures. Same way, like a piece of steel would only take a certain amount of pressure before it buckles. Do you get what I'm saying? And again, I just don't know. There's not enough. I don't know. You just need. There's no real answer I could give you to say this is why they do it, because it could be so many different variables that cause that one incident to happen. I don't think you could point to one and say it was that. Do you know what I'm saying? I think it probably would be more combination than it was that.
One.
Yeah, I agree with Will, to be fair. I think it's this. We all know it's behaviour that's deviant from the norm. It's not a behaviour that society condones. It's not a behaviour that any of us as just normal people with any form of morality thinks is okay. But I don't believe that anyone just wakes up 1st of January and decides, do you know what? On the 5th of February, I'm going to take out my whole family. I don't think it takes place like that. I think it is a building of effects, especially in men and the way that society has led us to believe that men aren't supposed to cry, men aren't supposed to have feelings. Of course, it's going to exacerbate the problem. But another thing that we should be taking into consideration is that as things get tighter, as the living crisis gets more apparent and people lose more, it's more than likely we're going to see more of this.
Yeah.
What happens when your back is against the wall? This is when you decide that against everything else, I'm not just taking me out. We're all going out. We're all in. Sometimes I think, do they think that they're just going to start again? Like, wait, is it a restart ban? Is that what you're hoping for? I'm so confused. But I personally can't understand how anyone could kill their own child. That's the bit that boggles my mind more than anything else.
Oh, actually, no, I think he stabbed them. I think someone said that he stabbed them.
He stabbed his own child.
I think it's.
It's just it's just, I don't know. It's so, you know what? It's so mind-boggling, right? But there's that thing of is it called crimes of passion?
Mm-hmm.
It's crimes of passion. I think when is that when a man will kill for a woman?
Normally for women.
Yeah. But even if it's just the logic you follow. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you're trying to, in that situation, what you're trying to escape something, or you're trying to, because it's for you to kill your own child and your partner. It's almost like you're already going somewhere, and you're saying, I don't want to be without them, if that makes sense. That's what
But
it
then-
almost feels like. Like, I don't want to be without them, but I'm going to this place. And it is selfish because it's like you've made a decision to go wherever it is you've decided to go. And then you've also made a decision for them to say that you're coming with me.
But in
Do you
which
know what
one
I'm
of the
saying?
religions is that even possible? In which one of the religions is it even possible that by me killing myself and my family, we're all going to end up in the same place?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I say
This is
mental
where-
health.
And this is where we've got to take the logic out of it. It's not. I don't think it's even based on the idea that we're all going to be together. It's the idea that anything is better than this.
Yeah.
This is hell. The
Mm.
only way I can even wrap my head around it is that you are already in hell. And you think, whether that be mental health or your own ego and the likes, you believe that by taking the life of your loved ones, you're removing them from that hell. And that is really like rolling that Rubik's Cube. And that's all I've got. And even then, that is a break from reality. That's a break from the norm. Because no matter what, this is the life.
They must be possessed or something, man. Because I don't know. It's crazy to me. It's just crazy. Like, baffles me. But I just don't know, man.
So we've got all the extremes. We've got all the extremes when we are dealing with love and relationships. So what's your final thoughts, Aaron?
My final thoughts is it's a good question, though. My final thoughts is I think we just gotta be able to like speak more about how we really feel in it in situations. Pent up anger, pent up problems or pains doesn't always end well, which allows people to put hot war on people and kill your family.
Wait, what do you think should happen to that girl?
Oh no, bro, I'm not CPS, man. Ain't that?
CPS, she's 18.
Crown's Prosecution Service.
Ain't that, bro? I'm just Aaron trying to do a podcast, but really and truly, yeah, I think we just got to be able to communicate better in life, and that way we can, make better decisions, and as Monique says, do better.
Monique?
Well, he's taken my line, innit? Everyone's just got to do better. Everybody got to do better. Young people have to use the sense that God gave them, and they need to remember this social media thing. It's not the Matrix. It's real life. It is recorded. You will be prosecuted. Have some sense. Have some pride. Have some sort of self-preservation. Like, where is that gone? Where do they teach that now? I assume the first rule was survival at all costs. They're out here making decisions that...
Listen, they're getting ready for the metaverse, man. That's where they're going to be living.
Everyone needs to do better. And to be fair, we have a responsibility to look after our own mental health. And that needs to be pushed harder. Taking care of oneself so that, God willing, fewer and fewer people find themselves in a situation where this is such a living hell that they want to take themselves and their families out of it.
Will?
Yeah, I think regarding the girl, yeah, I'll be honest, the whole thing disgusts me, if I'm honest. Like, throw the book at her, throw the bed at her, throw the same kettle that she was boiling water in, throw that as well, man. You know what I mean? But yeah, that I don't know. There's just I think I'll just worry for the kids, man. I think it's just one thing I always sit there and think here. I look at what's happening here, and I look at my son here, and I think, I don't know what world you're gonna go into. By the time you get those ages, those teenage years, and then the teens and the late teens and stuff, I don't know what world you're coming into, because I look at stuff now, I think this is madness. Do you know what I'm saying? And luckily for him at the moment, he don't really do. I keep him away from most of the stuff. He's just happy to play with his toys, right? And I love that he loves to play with his toys and doesn't really sit there on, screens or anything like that. I love that he does that. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like that's preserving his innocence, because social media is literally a wormhole of bullshit. All right. And literally, it's literally mental health waiting to happen. And the more you're exposed to it, the more your mind starts to be infected by all the crap on there. Do you know what I'm saying? And so my thing would be like, look, I don't know, do what you need to do to protect your kids' mental health. Do you know what I'm saying? In terms of the husband, again, it's a mental health issue. Like that was not a situation that just happened like that. That was probably more than likely a build-up of some underlying stuff. So it was very hard to spot the signs. And just the way men are very elusive, very, oh, how you doing? Oh, I'm cool, man, kind of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? We're very much like that. We're so bland when it comes to how we're doing, really. Do you know what I'm saying? I know myself, there's very few people who ask me how I'm doing and I'll tell them the truth. And more time, if I'm honest, it's because I can't bother to get into it. It's just too long. Do you know what I'm saying? So it just, again, we just need to kind of try to spot those signs and try pay the right level of attention so we can get people the right kind of help.
Will, how you doing?
I'm all right, you know.
So yeah, I mean, do you know what? When you see young people doing crazy things, I'm just like, why are you throwing your life away? And so I really hope they don't throw the book at her. But I reckon I reckon the amount of attention that it got, I reckon they're going to make an example of her.
Rightly so, though.
I reckon they're going to make an example of her. And yeah, it's sad because it's wrapped up in so much other stuff, right? I reckon they are going to make an example of her, but I reckon there's other children of a different ilk that will do it and they won't get made an example. And it will constantly be our young people who are made an example of, which leads back to parenting. Like, it really frustrates me because it's parenting. As a community, we need to stop making excuses and fix up because, you know, as an ex-teacher, particularly at a secondary level and friends in the system, it's always our parents that don't show up. Your kids are failing, you don't show up. Your kids are struggling, you don't show up. These are things that are happening, you don't show up, but you're very quick to say the system is failing us. We need to do better because the children that are out there are showing we can no longer blame the system for that. Like, that's us. We need to do better. And as for the other situation, I think it's a prime example of the fact that men are not taught to deal with their emotions. Like you teach, we do gendered upbringing, and men are not taught to how to deal with emotions. They're not allowed to. They don't know how to go through dealing with those emotions to express them properly. But they're also not allowed to have those emotions. And just because you tell somebody they can't have emotions, they're humans. They're still going to have those emotions. Like, it still happens, and this is why we have these problems. And so I think it's very important because even the gentlemen on this pod, even you and your emotions and your feelings, as in touch as you are still at the mercy of that. We had that whole feeling discussion, and all of you were still like, nah, nah. So
you know what's funny? You say that, and I know that obviously for myself, I find it sometimes difficult. But I don't really speak about how I feel in some situations yet. But what I tend to do, especially with my son, is he's only 3, he's going 4 in the next couple of weeks, but I always ask him how he feels and delve into him as a young bucket, like now in it. So we always speak in terms of how he is in it, what's the matter, what's wrong, how can they help you? Like, I always drum it into him from now. So when he does hit 10, 13, 14, 15, whatever he decides to do with his life going forward, he's able to say, come to you, like, this is dad, and be like, dad, or even his uncle, whoever it may be, Uncle Will, I need some help with this, like, this is what's going on, rah, rah, rah. Do you know what I'm saying? I've always tried to instill in him what I essentially, as our generation, we just kind of you've got to be a man, you've got to man up, you've got to get a big chest, big arms, and just go and bang through it, yeah? When I'm trying to instill my son, you can have all that, that's great, but also be able to...
The other side, isn't it?
Yeah,
no, that's true, because I do the same thing with Jay. I literally asked him, like, oh, how you feeling? Like, I'm saying, like, before he goes to sleep, we sit down, have a little chat before he goes to sleep or whatever. I'm saying, and even just when I'm taking him to school, literally on the way to school, just ask him about, okay, how you feeling? What kind of day you're gonna have, etc., etc. Just so that I'm trying to gear him up to kind of just, okay, put him in the right zone. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, you have to do it early, man, because
Yeah.
So
And I
it's
think
London, we're like, what's good, bro? Yeah, I'm cool, man. What we saying? Like, that's it. I'm cool, you know. What we saying? Conversation's done. Each time my brain's frazzled, but no one knows. I'm good, bro. I'm just trying to be like you. These times you're frazzled as well.
yeah.
and I think it's
I'm
important
frazzled,
because
trying
I
to.
think men need I think also it's about understanding that I think because emotions and feelings have been so feminized that I don't even think sometimes outside of that men know how to talk about that in a masculine way. So addressing and dealing with your feelings doesn't have to be done in a feminine way. And I think a lot of times when you think about how am I going to talk about it, what like even talking about it, right? Talking is very much a female thing. Like we want to talk about it sometimes as it is better, right? That thing, it may not be talking about your feelings, but it might be, okay, I know my boy's not good. Let us go somewhere together, right? And just play a game and just set it out and just know that you're not okay. I'm just going to be there, right? So I think it's even that. So I think it's also about knowing that saying you're not okay or having a feeling, your only way of dealing with that, it doesn't have to be in the way that you see emotions and things being done, right? And see that's not the only way you can address those issues, but you do have to address the issue, is what I think is necessary. Because if we don't, boy, I don't even have kids, but I'm scared. Boy, crazy. That's it for me. Back to you, Will.
Okay, man. Yeah, man. That's a wrap then. Alright, guys. Thanks for tuning into the latest episode of ChewOnThis. Big shout out to everyone on the panel. Let us know your thoughts about today's discussion. Relationship violence. It can come in many forms. On one hand, you've got the young lady who recorded herself violently attacking one of her peers over a dispute that was apparently to do with another man. But does the fact that she deliberately recorded this violent incident point to an unruly and desensitized generation that sees respect for their peers as weakness and boundaries as a thing of the past? Or was this a young lady suffering from mental health issues? And then we have the incident in Epsom where the gentleman killed his wife and his child and then himself. Was this a single moment of madness, or was this a prime example of a man suffering from mental health issues, but all the signs were missed by his nearest and dearest, as well as his employer? Does society continue to fail our men by not raising boys who are able to confidently express their thoughts and their feelings? And lastly, can mental health be considered a direct prerequisite to relationship violence of any kind for both men and women? Let us know your thoughts at ChewOnThis LDN for Twitter, YouTube and Instagram. But for now, for myself and the rest of the team, until next time, we're out.